This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, directly after every single Angels game right here on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel or wherever you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, was covering UCLA sports for 4 years with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Our team, it's the Angels, and today is a frustrating one because the Angels come into Houston, the third game, the rubber match of a 1-1 series against the Houston Astros. Big opportunity to pick up another series win, big opportunity to get a statement series win against a Houston team that we always struggle with, in a ballpark that we always struggle in. And despite a couple solo home runs in this one, as always, the Angels fall 7-3, and they finally, it took them 5 series, but they finally do not end a series with a victory. Before we jump into this one, as always, shout out to every single person in here, seeing some of the usuals, as always, Newbie, Antonius, Skyler, Wally, TFL, Larry. Shout out to guys like Larry saying, at least we got Gavin to cheer us up. Newbie made me laugh when I was coming in here saying, well, I don't want to overreact, but season's done, boys. Saying that I'm crying in the shower, fully clothed. All these very hilarious. But yes, obviously a lot to talk about in this one, despite it being one of those games where at times it felt uneventful, really only a couple swings and a couple innings deciding this one, but still some big takeaways in this one. And I'm going to briefly get to, I guess you'd say, the favorite segment of the show right now. And then I have a discussion to talk about what I'm calling the great solo HR debate. But first and foremost, we have to start with...
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
We're starting with the turning point. We're going to get to that debate in a second, but obviously the turning point, the reason the Angels lose this game, the primary reason, despite what I'm going to talk about, is the bottom of the second inning, of course, because at that point, the Angels have a 2-0 lead, and everything is looking just like yesterday. A strong start to the game. You build a lead for your starting pitcher. You're feeling really good that you can escape here with the win, get a huge statement win, a huge back-to-back W's, but then things fall apart for Kyle Hendricks in the bottom of the second. He's been so great to start this season. Not going to let this inning, act like it's a season-defining inning for him, that things are going to fall apart. But just a brutal inning. No other way to put it. He walks Caratini to lead off the inning, then Pena singles to make it first and second. They're able to get Pena out at second on a grounder to Kevin Newman, not able to turn the double play. So then Cam Smith comes up with runners on the corners and 1 out, and he gets a sinker right down the middle. First pitch, able to hit a liner into right field. He didn't hit it hard, but he hit it well, opposite field. And just like that, it's 2-1 on not a good pitch at all. A sub-90 sinker right down the middle. Way too many pitches down the middle from Kyle Hendricks in this inning. Very next at-bat, Mauricio Dubon, a strike on a sinker right down the middle. And then he hangs a changeup at the letters right down the middle. Unsurprisingly, Dubon hits that one hard up the middle. And just like that, it's 2-2. Now it's he's also able to advance to second. It's now second and third, game already tied at 2. And even though you're able to get a 1-out fly out from Joe Adell from Jose Altuve that does not score a run, not deep enough for a sac fly. Wasn't a great pitch, a changeup at the letters again. Fortunately, Altuve gets just under it and he isn't able to hit it deep enough, but it didn't matter because with 2 outs, Isaac Paredes, I'm getting that right as the series goes on. He's kind of been the guy of the series for the Astros, and he does what the Angels have been doing so far this season. He goes 3 straight games with a home run here, as unsurprisingly, pitches down the middle. Got away with 2 fastballs up at the letters down the middle that weren't crushed, but then a 2-2 fastball just above the letters. Yes, it's out of the strike zone, but when you throw an 87.7 mile an hour fastball, Kyle Hendricks, it's not that hard to catch up to it up above the letters. And so Isaac Paredes does just that, and he crushes one. Only 353 feet, but never really in doubt. Hit it hard off the bat. Obviously, a pretty high launch angle. It's able to get out. Everything in this series was to the Crawford boxes. This no different. And yeah, again, you can't throw a high fastball when you're only throwing at 87.7 and expect to blow by any major league hitter. So Paredes makes it 3 straight games with a home run. That 3-run shot turns a 2-2 tie into a 5-2 Astros lead. And that's why, unfortunately, Isaac Paredes is the...
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's him, right? I mean, that's the biggest swing of the game, arguably the biggest swing of the series. He had the other biggest swing of the series in game 1 as well. 3 straight games with a home run for him. He only goes 1 for 4, but when you hit the biggest 3-run shot of the game, that's enough for you to be the player of the game. So got that out of the way, the turning point and the player of the game. But I want to now get into what I'm calling the great solo HR debate, because it's something I've seen throughout multiple Angels platforms, throughout, the Locked On Daily guys. John and Mike, they do it they talk about it because it's a thing with the Angels, and it's been a thing with the Angels for multiple years, whether it's just Mike Trout always being the one hitting solo home runs while no one else is on base for him, or what we've seen this season, so far, right? We had that Rays game where the Rays hit 2 home runs, 327 feet on each of them. Meanwhile, the Angels hit 4 home runs, but they lose because they're solo shots. Meanwhile, Jose Caballero hits a grand slam and you lose the ball game, right? Today, another example where the Angels only hit solo home runs. A leadoff home run in the top of the first inning from Taylor Ward, a second inning home run from Nolan Schanuel, who goes back-to-back games with the home run himself, and then Jorge Soler absolutely hits a laser beam in the top of the 6th. But the reason, it's a debate is because you've got people who say, oh, this team only hits solo home runs, therefore it's proof that they're just swinging for the fences, and it's a horrible approach, and they need to change their approach. And in many instances, I disagree with that. I think it's a lazy take to just say, oh, a team hits a bunch of solo home runs. It means that they're not trying to get on base. It means that they're only trying to swing for the fences. I disagree with that. I think the Rays game was an example where you genuinely got unlucky. You hit 4. You didn't hit 1 or 2. You hit 4 solo home runs. And most of the time, you hit 4 solo home runs in a game, or even 3 home runs in a game, you're going to deserve to win, right? But this game is different. This game, and again, it's not saying I agree with the people who say, oh, if you hit solo home runs, it means your approach is all wrong and you're swinging for the fences, except for a game like today, because not only was it only 3 home runs, but the biggest takeaway, 0 walks and 16 strikeouts. 16 strikeouts. That's the problem. And yes, this team still had 9 hits, so there's got to be some credit there. And ironic, 2 of the guys that hit the solo home runs also gave you an additional hit, right? Nolan Schanuel, he goes 2 for 4. Jorge Soler, he goes 2 for 4, right? So again, that notion that the guys that are hitting solo home runs are the same guys that only swing for the fence, that is still that theory is still disproven in this game, because both Soler and Schanuel, they both still added additional base hits, right? So again, that theory is kind of irrelevant there in the grand scheme of things, but this still was a game where, as a whole, the Angels struck out way too many times and did not get a walk. And those 2 numbers show it there, 0 walks, 16 strikeouts. But anyone who watches the game knows it as well. Just awful at-bats in this one. I mean, Joe Adell, he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, but they were saying it on the radio broadcast. They were saying it on the Astros TV broadcast. The at-bats were all just awful as well, right? There's a difference between you get to 2-2 or 3-2 every at bat, you foul off a couple pitches, but you happen to strike out 3 times, right? Anytime you strike out 3 times in a game, it's a bad performance. But for Joe Adell specifically, it was just awful at bats, right? Taylor Ward, he goes 1 for 5. He strikes out 3 times, including in a key moment with 2 guys on base, and he was the tying runner at the time. That's what's frustrating, right? So I'm still not coming in here and having this lazy take that, oh, the Angels hit solo home runs because all they try to do is hit home runs. For the season, I still disagree with that. But today, absolutely. You can't argue with 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts from Joe Adell, all 4 at-bats, pretty terrible, right? Mike Trout goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. His at-bats today, pretty terrible. And so I don't know if that's a swinging for the fences thing. I don't think it's that their starting pitcher was phenomenal or anything. Obviously, able to have enough control to where you don't walk a single guy, but still. This was a matter of the Angels having horrible at-bats, whether it's swinging for the fences or just having a bad approach. A lot of called third strikes, a lot of pitches in the zone that they didn't swing at, a lot of pitches outside the zone early in at-bats that you're swinging at That's what's frustrating in this one. So I'm not going to say that this team needs to stop hitting solo home runs, because the moral of the story is this game last year, this exact performance last year would be the same strikeouts and lack of walks, but you take out the 3 home runs, right? Fortunately, this year, the only positive takeaway from this game is that even in a game where the Angels play pretty terrible, they're still going to be in games because they're always going to give you 2 to 3 solo home runs, right? It happens every single game so far this season for the Halos. And so that's the only positive takeaway, is that even in a game where there's awful at bat after awful at bat, this team is still going to be in ball games. I mean, there's multiple times where you have the tying run up to bat. Even in the 9th inning, you're one more base hit away from bringing the tying game to the plate, or the tying runner to the plate. So that's a positive, in that no matter what, it seems like the Angels are going to be in ball games as long as the bullpen doesn't explode. You're going to be in ball games just out of the mere fact that you're going to give the 2 or 3 balls. You're going to hit 2 or 3 balls over the fence, right? So that's the only positive. But the problem is, today was one of those days where you didn't add anything else. No threat. You get a guy on second base once or twice other than the solo home runs, right? So that's what's frustrating. And that's why there's going to be people, and this game is going to give some credibility to the argument that this is still a team that swings for the fences more than they need to, doesn't get on base, doesn't embrace small ball as much as they need to. But I mean, if you look at the lineup today, anytime you have a Trout Soler with Taylor Ward leading off, does that really scream like a bunch of base hits and stealing? No. Obviously, Kyron Paris has done kind of both. He's had singles and stolen bases, and he's had home runs, right? Obviously, Rengifo is able to give you that contact aspect. Shanuel is more of a contact hitter, even though he's been going deep the last couple of games. But for the most part, it's not like Joe Adell is a contact guy. It's not like Taylor Ward is a prototypical leadoff hitter. Mike Trout's becoming a home run primary guy. We know what Soler is. So at the end of the day, you can't be that shocked that this team is primarily hitting home runs to score runs. You can't be shocked at that. But the problem, like Ty Bobarino says here, half of the strikeouts are looking. There are instances where you can tell that people are trying to hit it out. And just a lot of horrible at-bats in this one. That's the problem. So that's my take on the debate. I still don't agree with the people that are going to be lazy and just say, Angels swing for the fences, that's why they lose ball games. No. But you can find a middle ground. Once again, my favorite saying from yesterday, I'm bringing it back today. 2 things can be true. The Angels do have a primarily home run hitting lineup, and today you have 16 strikeouts without a walk. That can be true. But it is also true that the Angels are not just swinging for the fences, right? It's always somewhere in between. That's my takeaway on life, especially in 2025 when everything is so polarizing and everything has to either be you're arguing on this side or you're arguing on the other. And that's in everything, whether it's sports or politics or life in 2025. Everything is it's this side or that side, nothing in the middle. And my thing is always, I'm not saying political, I'm trying to stay out of that, but at least in terms of sports debates, it's always usually somewhere in the middle. Okay. So the people that are going to come out here, and obviously I have a 20-minute post-game show where I'll be honest, I'm sure everybody, whether it's my employers or some of you people on here, that you want me to have a definite take on one side or the other and say, oh, it's all because they swing for the fences, or, oh, it's nothing because they swing for the fences and it was just bad luck. But I'm not going to give that to you. I'm going to give you what I genuinely feel, the same way that's what I gave you yesterday about the Trout fan situation. And I had people in the comments saying, Gavin, you're ridiculous. He ripped the ball out of his glove. Obviously, the fan is horrible. And then you got other people saying, yeah, Trout met with him after the game and said you shouldn't have gotten kicked out or moved. Obviously, he's not in the wrong at all. I told you it was somewhere in the middle. And I'm the same way on this. Somewhere in the middle. You need to hit more base hits. You can't strike out 16 times. You can't have awful at-bats like Joe Adell, particular, Mike Trout in particular, had in this ball game. But you also can't say that they're just swinging for the fences. That's just me. That's my take on the matter. When I come back from my break, we have to talk a little bit more about what happened in the late innings. The fact that the Angels bullpen did give up some additional runs here, right? So you could argue this game would have been a little bit closer if Detmers doesn't give up a run, if Darrell Hicks doesn't give up a run. But still, and we also have to just talk about the series as a whole and look forward to Texas because there's still an opportunity for this road trip to be a huge success, in my opinion. I'll tell you how after my break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, today's show is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Give me 1 second to actually put it on the screen. There we go. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's a perfect grab and go snack for busy days. For me, the best example is after the gym. When I'm driving, I go to the gym every morning and I go straight to work after that. I mean, I shower, get changed, and then go straight to work. There's no more, more time that's more important in terms of having protein than after your workout. And so while I'm driving or when I get to my desk, having the ability to crack open the no shells variety of Wonderful Pistachios and get some protein quick and easy, and it always tastes good. It's great. It's great. They also have the shell variety, the in-shell options, because there are times, whether you're at the best example being at the ballpark, nothing better than cracking open the shell, whether it's peanuts or pistachios or anything like that, sunflower seeds, all that good stuff, but especially Wonderful Pistachios. So get snacking and cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The best example is when I started using Monarch Money, I realized my days of college where I was always using Uber Eats or Postmates or DoorDash, yes, those days were over, and I'm not overspending on that, but I'm still overspending on eating out in general. Still the case, unfortunately, even with Monarch Money. It just makes me aware, and it's up to me to actually change it. But last night I went out and got Mexican food. Today I just went out and got some pizza at my local farmer's market. At least Monarch Money tells me that I'm doing that spending, and I can monitor it, manage it, and build some wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Back here live on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels fall 7-3 in this one. They hit 3 solo home runs. Taylor Ward, Nolan Schanuel, and Jorge Soler, but they strike out 16 times, don't draw a walk, and really don't show any life on the bases or in the batter's box other than that in the defeat. They break their streak of going 4-0 in series to start the year. They lose the series 2-1 to the Houston Astros. But despite that, in my opinion, there is still a clear way that this road trip can be positive. If you forget, coming into the road trip, this 9-game road trip, I said, if the Angels can, and it's in a road trip that includes 3 games against the Astros in a place we always struggle, 3 games against the Rangers in a place that we always struggle, and 3 games against the Rays, who are always a sneaky team. If you can finish that road trip 5-4 and go in to the homestand that starts against a really good Giants team, being 11-7 through 18 games, when 15 of the 18 were on the road, that is still an absolute W start to the season in a year where it felt like best case scenario, this team goes 81-81, right? So if you're 11-7, if you're 5-4, positive record on this road trip, despite all the road games, despite all the adversity, despite still not having one of your top 3-4 players on the whole roster, right? Zach Neto, if you're still putting Trout there, if you're still putting, I guess, O'Hoppe there, right? If you're still putting maybe, I don't know. I think that's probably it, right? It's got to just be, I guess Kyron Paris this year has been probably the best Angels player, but coming into the year, you probably said Trout and maybe O'Hoppe and then Neto, right? Neto, a top 3, at worst 4 player on the roster, has not played a ball game. And you're telling me you can be 11-7 through 18 games, 15 on the road. That is still a W, right? And so that opportunity still presents itself. All you got to do is win the series in Texas. And so obviously it becomes a big road trip. You get tomorrow off, which is huge. I think this team needs tomorrow off. I think it's coming at a right time. Your bullpen can freshen up, especially with Ben Joyce still out. I think there's a good chance that Neto is going to be back sometime in this series. If it's not the series opener on Tuesday night, maybe it's Wednesday or Thursday, but I think we get Neto back at some point in the series, and there's absolutely still an opportunity to have this be a very positive road trip. At very worst, if you go 2-1, you win a series against the Rangers and you did what you needed to do. But there's always a sweep possibility. We will certainly see. All right, it will be Kikuchi. Big opportunity for him to redeem himself, right? He's 0-2. The ERA is 5 so far in his tenure with the Angels. So he's going to open up a big series in Texas against a lineup that's starting to heat up a little bit. We don't know who's pitching for the Rangers yet, but you have to go in and say, we like our chances with Kikuchi, right? I feel like he's due for a turnaround. Hopefully that's the case. I know people were rightfully criticizing me on the last show for saying I haven't predicted a loss. If you truly ask me what I think is going to happen, I see the Angels probably winning on Tuesday. I'm going to say with the day off Monday, I think the Angels win Tuesday, but I do unfortunately think we go 1-2 in the series. That's my opinion. I could see us going 1-2, losing the final 2 after winning the opener. The other scenario I see is maybe we lose on Tuesday, we win on Wednesday with my boy, Jose Soriano, but then we lose on Thursday with Kohanowitz. Maybe Neto comes back at some point in the series and changes things up, but that's my early prediction. We'll quickly check in the bullpen before we go in terms of what happened in this one and what we can project going forward. Detmers did go 2 innings here. I think this is the role that I like Detmers in, right? It's not coming in and trying to have one perfect inning or even just getting an out or two like Wash has done sometimes this series or this season, excuse me. You give him 2 innings. Unfortunately, he does give up a run on just 1 hit and 1 walk. But still, that's okay. The ERA is 2.84. This is the role I like Detmers in a game that's close, right? Not down 8 runs and he's just the guy to eat up innings, the Jose Suarez, right? We don't need that. In a game where it's relatively close, you still want to have a chance. You want to see if you can maybe steal 2 perfect innings, 2 shutout innings from Detmers. That's the role, right? Coming into the 5th inning, Hendricks only getting through 4. So I thought the placement was perfect. Obviously, if he doesn't give up any runs, it's perfect. And then it's a lot closer ball game. And instead of it being 7, it's 6-3 or something. And there's some life there. So unfortunate that he gave up a run. Still think there's some signs that he can ease into this role, grow into this role, and have it be a successful one for him. Daryl Hicks obviously got destroyed in his debut in a rough situation. Today he comes in a little lower pressure, still a close game, but not super close. And didn't love what we saw in terms of him giving up a run. Again, a walk for him concerning. He did have a strikeout. But at the end of the day, it was already too little too late, right? The offense just kind of seemed like it wasn't going to give you anything else other than some solo shots here and there. And so I think the net positive is that I think the bullpen will be pretty fresh on Tuesday. Obviously, Kenley will be fresh. Zephyr John will be fresh. Burke will be fresh. I still think Detmers will probably be fresh by Tuesday. So I'm still liking the state of the bullpen going into Tuesday with Kikuchi on the mound. Could see us winning that game. I really could, especially if Neto is back. I'm still going to say 1-2 in the series, but obviously would love to be wrong. Would love to see a 2-1 or a 3-0. So with all that being said, shout out to everybody in here. Still seeing some people saying we got to get together for an Angels game. We'll make it happen this year. Absolutely. I'm still kind of figuring out some things. Think it'll probably be once the Clippers season is over. Obviously in the middle of a huge one right now, but my life gets a little less crazy once the Clippers season ends because I'm not working at games. I'm not having nights where I'm there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And when it's just a typical 8:30 to 5:30 schedule, it's a little easier. And on the weekends where there's occasionally Clippers games, once that's over and my weekends are always free outside of the Angels, then it makes sense for me to, maybe spend a weekend in Orange County, in Anaheim with some friends I have that live down there, doing the show there or doing the show in the car after the game or at the stadium or something like that. So we will make that happen. Shout out to everybody in here that's saying we need to make it happen. I appreciate you guys for wanting to meet in person and hanging out. Think it'll be fun. But as Antonio says here, Clippers and Warriors are battling right now. I'm going to go watch that one. Hoping Rory pulled it out. I don't even know. Did Rory pull it out in the Masters? I don't know about you guys. I'm a golf guy as well. I'm rooting for Rory, and I see here he's still up 4 strokes through 12. So rooting for Rory, rooting for my Clips. Still can be a positive day for me, even if the Angels did lose this game, especially if the Angels can turn things around. But with all that being said, enjoy the rest of this Sunday. A lot of sports going on, and I'll see you guys Tuesday night. Big series ahead. Enjoy the day off tomorrow. Maybe we need a break from watching the Angels strike out so many times. And then Tuesday, hopefully they'll be back. But have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you back here tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Tuesday. Go Angels. Take care.